these effective ways to turn that tide. So stay tuned as we dive into practical strategies that can help you regain control and bring peace back into your life. This is not just about surviving, it's about thriving. Welcome to Mindful Chatting, the place where we tackle real-life challenges with practical advice. I'm Kristin, and today we're exploring how to master stress management. Whether it's work, relationships, or our personal expectations, stress touches all parts of our lives. But what if I told you that managing stress could be more straightforward than you think? Today, we're actually going to break down proven strategies from mindfulness and meditation to setting realistic goals and disconnecting from our devices. So grab your headphones, get comfortable, and let's get ready to transform the way we handle stress. This episode is airing in the beginning of 2025. So we're all in this mindset of this is going to be a new year. This is going to be a new me, new you. And what we don't consider is that stress is going to happen and it's pervasive as the air we breathe. So instead of trying to approach stress in this way of, I'm not going to be stressed this year, I'm going to look different, I really want you to set up an expectation that you're going to be stressed out because that's part of life. But I want to equip you with strategies and tools so that when you do become stressed, because it is inevitable, you know what to do with them and how to tackle them. And I've kind of created this 10-part kind of steps that we can do to tackle like each of these stress aspects of our life and approach them in a way where now we're in control of our stress. We feel empowered and we know what to do, which I think is a very different mindset than a lot of us feel about stress. A lot of these aspects or things that I'm going to go over are not new concepts, but I'm coming at them in a different way because I want you to look at them differently. I want you to think about how can I apply these strategies going into this new year with 2025, and what am I going to do different? It's not about looking at stress and going, I'm not going to be stressed because it's going to be different. It's what tool am I going to use now that I know that the stress is coming up or this anticipatory thing is going to happen because I know I'm going to be stressed. So what am I going to do instead? And so I would love you to use this guide to help you kind of go, this is the tool I'm going to use, or this is the process or the procedure that I'm going to add to my life that's going to make things a hell of a lot easier for me later. Mindfulness and meditation is so overused, and it's quite sad because mindfulness and meditation are probably one of the most effective strategies that we can use. But I think because it's been pushed down our throat for so long that we kind of just think it's cliche or that we think it's not effective. But it's actually quite the opposite. I mean, just meditating 10 minutes a day for like 4 weeks in one study showed that you can actually increase your dark gray matter in your brain, which is a lot to do with functionality and the ability to like cognitively process things. And that's just 10 minutes. And we can do that before we even get out of bed. And so I think mindfulness and meditation really do give a bad rap just because it's been pushed at us for so long. But how can we start embracing it? So I want to look at mindfulness as more of a moment by moment awareness and not so much of this going on top of a mountain and, blocking out our whole life. I just don't think that that's realistic a lot for people. And I think that's what people think of in their image of their head when they think about meditation and mindfulness. And I want to offer more of a practical way of looking at it. So when I embrace mindfulness or when I think about mindfulness, I'm still doing everything that I'm doing throughout the day. It's how present I am while I'm doing it. I'm thinking about my thoughts, my feelings, my body sensations, and just the surrounding environment that I'm in as I'm doing that particular thing. And so I want you to think about mindfulness of I'm going through my daily routine. And how am I being more and more present as I'm doing this? Studies suggest that incorporating mindfulness into your actual daily routine can decrease those cortisol levels, which are associated with stress. And for beginners, I really just want you to start off with your routine. Kind of just dedicating, 5 minutes to just observe your breathing. And I would even start even smaller than that. Before you tackle this next task or this next time blocking part, I want you to just sit and go, how do I feel? What's going on with me? Because you bring that into your next task or your next transition or your next thing. And that's going to impact the way you approach and take on that thing. And so I think it's really important to just sit with yourself and go, what the heck is going on with me before I even go into it? And again, meditation. So again, meditation, we think that we're sitting up on top of a hill in this beautiful scenery and we're having a blank mind. That's not what meditation can be for you. Meditation is about specifically focusing your mind on one thing. And when we think about meditation, it can be your breath. But if you've never done meditation before, I find that that's not the way to do it because that's so difficult for people. I would actually tell people to sit with their eyes closed, and I say start off with music. And one of the tools that I help people with meditation is I say, pick your favorite song. And now I want you to notice all of the different aspects of the song. So I always say, don't start with the lyrics and the words because you know those are your favorite songs. I'd say, start off with the drums. So every time you get distracted by the words, the guitar, or whatever piece of instrument is there, you come back to the drums. And then you come back to that drums. And you're probably doing that for about 3 or 4 minutes because that's the typical song length. And then you go back to that same song and now you're just focusing on another instrument. That is really practicing that skill of meditation and how easy, and I really want you to notice this when you're meditating, like how easy it is to just get distracted by the smallest thing and then think about how you're in a song for 3 to 4 minutes and how often your mind gets distracted. Because when you build this skill up, you're able to focus and concentrate and really notice when you're being pulled in all of these different directions in your daily routine or your daily tasks, and you're kind of building that skill as you meditate. Research has shown that meditation not only lowers stress, but it also enhances your overall cognitive function. It improves your memory, your attention span, and even decision-making skills. So practicing this can improve all of these different things all over the place. It's not just the ability to transition and to focus and concentrate. It does all of these other things that can make your brain healthier and happier. I love tools, and I always want people to walk away with this podcast or even on our blog post with tools because I don't want you to walk away with concepts and topics. I want you to actually practice these things. I have talked about Brain FM before, but I think Brain FM, when it comes to mindfulness and meditation, is a really good tool for this because Brain FM provides music that's engineered to enhance your focus and relaxation and even your sleep. And these tracks have been scientifically tested to influence these actual cognitive states. And if you want to help practice mindfulness and meditation, let's use an app to make it even easier for us. And they even have guided meditations on Brain FM, which I thought were really helpful. So there's going to be a link in the show notes if you want to learn more about Brain FM, but I use this to even help with focusing and paying attention. There are other apps though, like Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer is also a really good one. It has a library of free meditations, and they're all contributed by mindfulness practitioners around the world. And it covers a broad spectrum of topics from beginners to advanced levels. There's guided ones, there's non-guided ones. I used Insight Timer a lot when I did groups in psychiatric hospitals, and so I really love that app. But there's a lot of different apps that offer this type of guidance. There's also some really good books. Wherever You Go, There You Are by Jon Kabat-Zinn. This book is excellent for understanding the fundamentals of mindfulness if you want to learn more about it. There's also The Miracle of Mindfulness. That's a good introductory book to mindfulness. If you want to know more from more of a skeptic kind of guide to meditation, 10% Happier by Dan Harris is also a really good one. Again, I'm going to have a link to all of these books in the show notes if you're interested. There's also a lot of YouTube channels that offer guided meditations. If you go to our blog, Mindful Digest, I have links to all of these channels on YouTube that you can go and practice all of this mindfulness meditation. I also want you to think about like how you're going to integrate it, because mindfulness and meditation is not something that you are going to automatically think about. I am all about habit stacking. So if you already have a habit, like you brushing your teeth, that might be good to maybe meditate after you brush your teeth. You are more likely to instill a habit if it's on top of another habit that you already have. So you really want to think about like how are you going to integrate this into your routine, and thinking about a habit that you already do can make that just a lot more easier to actually do it consistently. The next part of effectively managing stress is thinking about your lifestyle choices. I know nobody really wants to talk about this topic because this actually requires a lot of change, and it requires a lot of honesty and accountability, because this is what we're doing on a daily basis, on a moment by moment basis. And maintaining a healthy lifestyle is really crucial, not just for your physical health, but for your mental health too. And we want to think about like how we're nourishing our bodies and what food we're putting in our bodies and how we're engaging in physical activity, our sleep hygiene. This is just going to help equip our minds to handle stress more effectively. So when we think about our nutritional balance, we also want to think about eating a balanced diet, obviously, but we want to think about nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids. And omega-3 fatty acids can help enhance brain health and mitigate stress effects, which is really interesting. A Mediterranean diet has been linked to reduce those symptoms of depression and anxiety and on stress levels. So I really want you to think about, if you're thinking about going into a diet of this new year, or you want to think about a new nutritional lifestyle, a Mediterranean diet has a lot of research surrounding it about it being really effective and healthy, and also really sustainable to do. I really want you to think about regular physical activity. I know in any really new year, everybody's on this. I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to go to the gym more. Exercise just within itself is really a powerful stress reliever. It not only pumps endorphins, but it also improves your mood. It often is described as meditation in motion because you're really not thinking about anything else. You're only thinking about your body. And we just talked about meditation and how meditation is super effective. So if you can incorporate your meditation into your physical exercise, you're doing two things at once at that point. But regular physical exercise can help alleviate symptoms of depression and anxiety. And you don't have to do anything really intensive. You can do yoga, you can go for a walk, you can even do your favorite sport. It's really just finding an activity that you enjoy, that you can make part of your routine, and really just gets you moving. I have a handout on our website that talks about the physical activity and mental health and how physical activity affects your mental health, and it really highlights several key benefits of exercise on your psychological health and incorporating it into your physical routine. This handout talks about depression and anxiety and how exercise can have just similar effects as CBT treatment on depression and anxiety, which is kind of crazy. But for individuals with like social anxiety, combining exercise with like group therapy has shown like beneficial outcomes for people. Exercise is huge for ADHD. Exercise can improve focus, behavior, and academic performance in children up to 30%, which is huge. Optimal activity levels. This handout also recommends a balance of like moderate, low intensity exercises and also short bursts of high intensity exercises. And a combination like this is ideal for like boosting cardiovascular health, muscle strength, and overall energy levels. Plus, physical exercise also provides holistic benefits. It promotes the release of endorphins, like I just talked about, but also neurotrophins, which enhance mood. It improves our sleep. It supports our cognitive function. You really can't go wrong with physical exercise. But we want to start slow. We want to set some achievable goals. We want to choose enjoyable activities because, again, it's all about consistency and sustainability. We want to be able to do this for a long time. So if you're interested in this handout, I'll put a link in the show notes. But if you also want to visit our blog, you can get a link in there to that handout. Sleep hygiene. our quality of sleep, not the amount of sleep we get, is more effective with our stress management, because poor sleep can really exacerbate anxiety. It can really reduce your emotional resiliency and impact that physical health that we were just talking about. So I also have a rest and sleep for mental health handout on our website that emphasizes that quality of sleep and how it's really crucial to leaving you refreshed and energetic throughout the day. I want you to think about your pre-sleep routine, which is usually your nightly routine. Because if you're establishing a good sleep routine, that just helps that transition into sleep, but it also helps that transition when you wake up in the morning. You want to avoid stimulating activities and electronics for at least an hour just because of that blue light. You don't want your body to think that the sun is still out and that you still need to maintain awake, because that can really mess up your melatonin that's going on. You also want to think about your sleep environment. Your sleep environment has to support uninterrupted sleep. You also want to think about the room temperature, the lighting, the noise levels. You want to make sure your bed is comfortable. You want to minimize that light exposure during the night. Blue light exposure is one of those things that can really disrupt your natural sleep cycle and also affect your melatonin production. And that's that hormone that signals your body that it's time to go to sleep. So you get this from screens and light in general. So you want to think about the light exposure. This handout also talks about like caffeine consumption. Caffeine really affects you up to 8 hours after consumption. So we don't think about that caffeine is actually what's stopping us from going to sleep, because we did it so earlier in our day, but it's still circulating throughout our body for a long time. So this handout kind of goes over all of these strategies and tips. And again, I'll put a link in the show notes if you're interested in something like that. There are some apps that I personally use that kind of help mitigate some of these things. There's Flux, it's f.lux, and this is a software that you can actually download on your laptop or your computer, and it'll adjust the color temperature of your computer screen to match the time of the day. So if I'm at night working on my computer for some reason, it will reduce the blue light and actually change my color to yellow, so that when I'm done and I close my laptop and I go to bed, I haven't had any of that blue light exposure. But what's so cool about this software is it's one of those things where it automatically sets itself. So you set it and then you forget it. And so I don't have to worry about, is my Flux on? It's always on, and it's always adjusting the light as it's measuring throughout the day. The other thing I do is the Rise app. The Rise app is designed to help you optimize your sleep and energy levels. It'll give you notifications throughout the day of like you're about to go through a dip. And so sometimes I'll be like, why am I so tired? And then usually the Rise app, very conveniently will be like, you're about to go through a dip. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that just tells me that like this is not something that I need to worry about. It reminds me that it's okay to go through little energy dips. I don't need coffee right now. I just need to get through it. And it also provides these personalized recommendations to help you get the best possible rest each night. It focuses on improving sleep consistency, which is really key to feeling rested and energetic throughout the day. There is one book that I really liked. It's called Sleep Smarter by Shawn Stevenson. It really provides tips and tricks to improve the quality of your sleep through like diet and exercise and your pre-sleep routine. I thought this book addressed all the major issues that arise with sleep, and it gave really helpful strategies to make sleeping and the environment in which you sleep more effective for you. Again, I'll have a link in the show notes for Sleep Smarter, but I thought that was a really good book that kind of helped me really think about my sleep routine and really made some big adjustments with it. When we think about stress management, we actually don't think about time management too much. And time management, I think, can help you prevent stress from piling up. And I really want to talk about how prioritization is really the key to being efficient to reduce that stress management. Prioritization looks like starting with distinguishing tasks between like urgent and important, and really effectively managing your schedule based on what you need to do and what's important, and not all of these little things that bombard you, like getting email messages and notifications, or somebody coming in and telling you an emergency. It really helps you kind of distinguish of like what's important right now, what do I need to do, and what can wait. There is the Eisenhower matrix that's really good to help you decide which tasks to tackle immediately, what to schedule for later, what to delegate, and what to eliminate. I wrote another blog post, which I'll do another episode, a podcast episode about tools for effective prioritizing. But if you're interested in looking at the Eisenhower matrix, I have that in my blog post, and I'll put that as a link into the show notes if you're wanting to do the Eisenhower matrix. We also want to think about strategically planning, allocating our time. And the best way I found to do this is kind of like visualize how your day or your week looks. The visibility helps you kind of allocate those time blocks to really prioritize those tasks. So it's not just about making a to-do list, it's about making a to-do list and then when am I going to do this to-do list? And techniques like time blocking can be really effective for this. So if you're like, I have hours from 1 to 3, what am I going to do? How long is it going to take me to do each task? And can I effectively do all of these things within the time block that I have? I think what gets people caught up with time blocking is they'll go, okay, I have my to-do list. I have 2 hours. I'm just going to hammer out as much as I can within these 2 hours off of this to-do list. And sometimes that works for people, but I think what happens is you're probably not going to get through the majority of that to-do list. And so we walk away from that time blocking feeling like we failed or feeling like we didn't accomplish everything. And then again, if we're being mindful, we're walking into our next appointment, our next thing, our next meeting with this sense of unaccomplishment, failure of like, I didn't do everything that I wanted. And then we're bringing all of that baggage into our next stuff. And so I always go, I have 2 hours based on my to-do list. What can I reasonably accomplish in that 2 hours? And I try not to do more than 2 or 3 things. If I get those 2 or 3 things done, great, because then I can go back to my to-do list and add more things. If I get those 2 to 3 things done, great, even though I might not have accomplished more, I at least got my top 3 things accomplished within that time blocking schedule. Another thing I love is Clever Fox planners. Clever Fox planners are the elevation of time management. They are excellent tools to consider. These planners are designed not just to track your appointments, but to help you set and achieve your short and long-term goals. They have reflection pages, and every month you reflect on how did that month go. And this layout is supposed to structure you to encourage that daily, weekly, and monthly planning. And it even has sections dedicated to goal setting and prioritizing and reflection. I just love Clever Fox planners. I'm going to put a link in the show notes as well for using these to help you strategically plan. Another thing that no one ever likes to talk about is learning how to say no and also delegating. One of the hardest yet more crucial skills in time management is learning to delegate those tasks and learning to say no to requests that do not align with your priorities. And when I say that, they're like, well, how am I supposed to do that at work? It's not aligning with your priorities in that time section. It's not that it's not important, but I need to learn to go, my priority is this project. So no, I can't do this right now, but maybe I can pick it up later. This not only helps you manage your workload, but it also allows others in your team or your family to really help you contribute and grow what you're trying to do. I think as when you look at it from a family perspective, learning to let your kids learn these life skills and delegate is going to make them better people later on. And studies have shown that that children who actually had chores and a schedule and earned an allowance were actually better people later on, because not only did we teach them how to effectively live life, but they had a sense of accomplishment and they learned how to reward themselves in a healthy way. And so don't be afraid to give your kids chores or things to work on, because it will ultimately help them. There are some more apps that can, or things that can help you kind of manage projects. I've even seen people use this in a family aspect, but Trello is great for project management. It allows you to like organize tasks with like boards and lists and cards, and you can share projects and ideas with others, which makes this like super helpful for brainstorming and keeping all of your thoughts and delegations accounted for. So I always recommend Trello to people. The next thing you can do to help manage stress is deep breathing. And I know deep breathing kind of always gets this bad rap because they're like, I'm always breathing. It's the way you breathe that's really actually going to be the most effective with this. And deep breathing is actually one of the most powerful and accessible methods to reduce stress. And you always have it all the time. Breathing improves relaxation and it also enhances your overall well-being. I think it's about these techniques work at activating those natural relaxation responses, and they help reduce your heart rate, lower your blood pressure, and also promote a feeling of calmness. So there's different techniques that you can try with deep breathing. One is not better than the other. What I want to really hone in is that deep breathing helps counteract the effects of stress by stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. So you have your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight, but then you also have your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite, but that's the rest and digest. And when we turn on that nervous system, we are telling our body that it's safe. And when our body feels safe, it just naturally relaxes. It goes, now I can rest and now I can digest. And so that's what really these breathing techniques do. So there's a couple different ones. There's 4-7-8 breathing, or you can do the 4-4-4. This allows like breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 7, exhaling for 8. I've seen people breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. That's box breathing, where you literally imagine a box as you're holding in for 4. Like I said, it's not which one's better. It's about what makes sense for you. There's also diaphragmatic breathing, which is known as belly breathing. So I always say, like I do this a lot with little kids, of teaching them really how to breathe, is putting your hand over your stomach. And when you're breathing in, making sure that you expand your belly and not your chest. And that actually will engage your parasympathetic nervous system. One of the things that I always tell people is to breathe in through your nose and out your mouth. We don't breathe like this. We're either mouth breathers or nose breathers. And so doing both makes you stop and think about it. And that's exactly what I want you to do. Plus, if we're breathing in this capacity, in a way, it kind of triggers our nervous system to settle down. And so that's just another easy way to start using breathing. Again, just like mindfulness and meditation, you have to schedule time to breathe. I know that sounds so weird. But if you're about to go into something like a meeting or a stressful event or right before you go to bed, setting aside some specific time to just maybe breathe in through your nose, out your mouth. It doesn't always have to be these long sessions of deep breathing. You also want to think about apps maybe, or guided mindfulness things like Calm and Headspace. Again, Brain FM, because it provides that music that's engineered to enhance that focus and relaxation. That would be a really good one to use for this. And again, practicing regularly. The more consistently you incorporate deep breathing, the more natural it'll become and the more you'll use it. I love to use this in conversations, because if I'm in a really hot or heated topic with somebody, I will try to take deep breaths before I respond to them, just so I'm regulating my nervous system. There are some handouts and exercises that I have on the website. I have a grounding exercises handout and a vagus nerve exercises. The vagus nerve is one of our longest nerves in our body, and it really extends to really all of the organs throughout our body. And when we stimulate the vagus nerve, we're actually stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. And so I have a lot of exercises that will stimulate that vagus nerve. So you can get that handout on my website, and I'll also put a link in the show notes for these. But these handouts are really ways to help explore utilizing these effective exercises to support your nervous system later. You have to reach out for support. I know that we think that our stress is just engaging us, and why would I want to put my stress on other people? But support like friends and family and colleagues and professionals, like building that support network can actually provide emotional relief, even can provide you some practical help, but it may actually give you some new perspectives on managing all of your life's challenges. And so I think social support, just having that social outlet, significantly reduces stress and improves overall mental health. It acts as that buffer against those adverse life events, and that it also provides a sense of belonging and security, like I'm not the only one going through this. Because I can tell you right now, there has been nothing in my sessions with clients that I have not heard. By saying that, I mean that you are not alone. Whatever you're going through, there are probably other people going through those exact same things. And sometimes talking about that and sharing your feelings openly and getting not judgment and getting more support and like that validation of that experience can actually help you manage stress more effectively. You want to think about who is in your support network, like your friends and your family, but also maybe professional help, like you want to get a therapist or a counselor or support groups. Support groups don't always have to look like therapy groups. They can look like Facebook groups. They can look like people that are hiking groups, so support groups don't always have to have that therapeutic outlet that I think people add to it, but it's a group of people where you have the same mutual things in common and you're supporting each other. Another thing about support groups or support network is really encouraging that open communication. You want to be direct. You want to clearly express like what kind of support you need, especially with family and friends, because sometimes they'll assume what you need and maybe you won't need that. So like for an example, we could go to our friends and family and share our problems, and maybe what we need is someone to just listen, and maybe all they're giving us is advice. And that can be making us feel really defensive or making us feel like we can't solve our own problems. So I think being very direct about what we're looking for in our support system is very important. We also want to reciprocate. So just because we're going through something, sometimes it might be nice to hear about other people's stuff. And so being validating and empathizing and like hearing other people's stress can actually make us feel a little bit better about our own. Another thing is we want to use technology. We want to connect to support groups. So we think about groups and we're just like, I don't feel connected. Well, we have to be engaged and we have to be involved with these online platforms. You can't just join them and go, I have a support group. We're actively going on, we're talking to people, we're watching things that they post, we're reading articles that they're posting, making it a community by actively engaging with it is going to be the most effective strategy. Engaging in relaxation techniques is super important, and this is very different from mindfulness and meditation and breathing exercises that I've already talked about. Relaxation techniques are about those coping skills that we really need because they're their stress management. That's like our toolbox, so that when we're already stressed out, we're kind of putting ourselves in these techniques that promote peace and well-being. And here's just a couple that I always kind of share with people is like progressive muscle relaxation. So that's like tensing up different parts of your body and then actively releasing them. I love to teach these with kids who are very restless, or have ADHD, if you will, because going to bed at night can be something really hard to de-stimulate from. So I'll have them start with their feet, and I'll just have them clench up their toes or clench up their feet and do that for 3 seconds and then actively relaxing. What you'll notice when you're doing this is you won't even realize that you're tensing up parts of your body. And as you're going through different parts of your body, and let's say you're tensing up your shoulders and then you try to relax them, you'll notice that you've already been tense. And so this helps you become more bodily aware of what's going on with you and helps you actively relax your body to help you with stress. And so progressive muscle relaxation is a really good one to do right before you go to bed. Guided imagery is another one. So guided imagery involves like visualizing calming and peaceful images. I actually use guided imagery a little bit different with people, especially if you're worried or stressed about something. I'll have people think about that scenario or thing that they're worried and stressed about, and I have them imagine it going well. And what would it look like? And then sometimes I'll have them imagine it not going well. And then what do you do? This allows people to have a sense of control over the scenario or the narrative of what's going to happen. Plus, it empowers you that as we're going through these really stressful things, that I'm confident enough to know how to go through them. And so we'll imagine going through these different scenarios and just building up that narrative for them. And that just makes you feel like, oh, okay, I really got this. And that can be very relaxing for some people. I can't stress enough about how incorporating relaxation techniques into the daily routine and using habit stacking is so important because you just won't do them. So if you're not going to actively practice them, think about how I'm going to incorporate them. So if I'm going to go take a warm bath, or I'm going to do progressive muscle relaxation before bed, what's my visual cue that's going to remind me to do that? Sometimes we'll take classes and workshops. Like I said, physical exercise can be a way of building that social network up for you. It can be a stress reliever, but it can also be very relaxing for people as they leave. So think about, is there community centers, gyms, or apps that offer, meditation, yoga, workout classes that can help kind of tackle like 2 or 3 of these suggested things. We also want to think about the environment that we're doing our relaxing thing in. I remember plenty of times drawing a bath and going, I'm going to relax. And then the moment I get in the bath, there's a knocking at that door. Mom, mom, or somebody coming in asking me a question. That is not a relaxing environment. So sometimes telling our family that, hey, I'm going to be in the bathroom. If you need anything, this is what you can wait, or when this timer goes off, then you can come bug me. And like providing a sense of boundaries with these relaxation environments, or you won't relax when you get in them. So I know there's a lot of different tools that I've just talked about, but I want to think about setting realistic expectations for yourself. And I think we are our biggest critic, judger. I think we are so hard on ourselves. And we think that we can, or we should, be able to accomplish all of these things all the time. And then when we don't, we immediately go inward and think, what's wrong with me? Why wasn't I able to do this? And sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes we weren't really actually being realistic with the expectations that we have. So we want to think about realistic expectations. We want to take into account like our current circumstances, our skills, our time, our energy, because that's going to actually help you set achievable goals, and that's going to help promote success without setting you up for failure. So we want to think about managing expectations with others too. So we can get a lot of expectations, especially from family and friends, or even our boss, about what's expected of us. So we want to make sure that we're giving clear communication when you're working with other people or even within your family. I think transparency helps manage other people's expectations and reduces that likelihood of those misunderstandings that you're happening of like, this is what I'm able to accomplish right now. And even kind of working on that negotiation or that compromise with that other person. I always love feedback. And I know feedback can be really hard to hear sometimes, but setting that realistic feedback on your progress and be willing to adjust goals for yourself. So not just that feedback from other people, but are you actually tracking your progress to see like, is this realistic, or do I keep failing, and why do I keep failing? Instead of it making like a personal flaw, is there something that's part of this process and the procedure that's really not realistic? And how can I help myself, with my objectives to actually achieve what I'm trying to do? There is some psychological benefits with setting realistic expectations that can significantly decrease your stress by making life more predictable and manageable. It helps cultivate a sense of accomplishment and control, which are super vital for mental health. And setting realistic expectations can help enhance your productivity and your satisfaction while maintaining a healthy balance between work and personal life. So this practice not only reduces stress, but it also promotes a more fulfilling and sustainable lifestyle. The one thing that I think we always talk about, but we have the hardest time doing, is disconnecting from technology. we talk about technology detoxes. I do think that they're super effective, but we just have to be realistic in what that actually looks like. So we all know the benefits of a tech detox. It reduces anxiety and stress. Studies show that excessive use of social media and constant connectivity can actually lead you to increase anxiety and stress. And so taking those regular breaks can actually help lower that. They also say that improves sleep from text detoxing. It can also enhance your relationship by putting your phone down. We all know the benefits of this, but we want to do it effectively. So I always say, start off small. So schedule breaks. So maybe designate times during the day, like maybe during dinner or an hour before bed or an hour after we wake up. This, will include times where we're actually scheduling. We're not allowed to pick up our phone. Another idea could be like a tech-free zone. So like in the bedroom, you're not allowed to use your phone, or in your dining room, you're not allowed to use your phone. There's also a lot of apps and stuff that can track your phone usage. So sometimes looking at those to go, oh my God, I can't believe I've spent this much time. I also like to put app limits, time limits on my apps, especially social media ones. And it's not because I'm telling myself, oh, I can't use this. I think it's more about acknowledgement about how much time I've actually been on it. You'd be surprised, I'm going to be like, oh, an hour. How much an hour really adds up, even if you're on social media 5-10 minutes here and there. So I think it's just more about understanding how much time. And then we go, what are we actually doing with the time that we're not on these devices? Because I think what happens is we get off of them and then we go, well, now what? I know that sounds so ridiculous, but I think that we need to be reading more or going outside more. I love to use audiobooks, like Audible. I love Audible. Not only do you get one free credit or basically one free book a month to use, but they also offer discounts on books and sales on your wish list items all the time. I find this the most easy and convenient way to actually listen or read books, or I don't think I would have time to read them. So even if I put Audible on and I'll put my headphones in, I'm literally leaving my phone on the counter or on the charging device, and then I'm going to go do something, like maybe I'll go for a walk, or maybe I'll clean or do something to where I'm not on my phone, but I'm still reading a book. And definitely going outside can be the biggest thing. I know that sounds so crazy to say, but I get this whole thing of well, now what do I do now that my phone's down? I just go outside, go for a walk, just start small, and then you'll be like, oh, I'm going to start doing this now. And then you'll think of ideas on what to do during your scheduled breaks from your phone. Gratitude can reframe your perspective, and practicing gratitude is a powerful way to enhance well-being and resilience. Before you kind of switch me off with gratitude, I really want you to think about how this practice can actually shift what is lacking or what is stressful to appreciating abundance that exists in your life. And I think when we get really stressed out, we always think about what's negatively going on and not thinking about some good that's going on. So let me talk about some benefits of practicing gratitude, because I don't think gratitude gets enough credit for what it can do. Regular gratitude practice has been linked to increased happiness. It reduces depression and at lower levels of stress. And so it encourages a positive emotional state, improving that overall well-being. It improves your physical health. So people who are actually practicing in gratitude experience fewer health problems and reported feeling healthier than those who didn't. And it also strengthens those relationships, because expressing gratitude can actually make you more appreciative and improve those relationships that you have with others. It also increases those social bonds. It fosters closeness and satisfaction. I think gratitude can be a good way of reminding and humbling yourself that the stress or the thing that you're worried about isn't all consuming. And I think that stress and worry can consume every part of our life. And so gratitude is a way to step back and to look at this stress or this worry isn't my whole life. And that's what I'm trying not to do. I think keeping a gratitude journal is really good to write things down that you're thankful for. So I love Clever Fox planners. You already know this, but they have gratitude journals. And I love how you can do two things at once, right? So you can journal, but you can also have a journal specifically geared toward embracing gratitude. This is not just about appreciation, but gratitude is about manifesting abundance. And the only way to cultivate that is through journaling and reflecting. So I love Clever Fox gratitude journals because they offer so many types of products, and this is no exception. And this gratitude journal has different ways of reflecting on gratitude to make the process like fun and actually effective for you. Gratitude reminders, people have put things on their phones for little alarms to go off to remind them to be reflective and gratitude. Sometimes people put that more in their daily routine of like 3 things in the morning or 3 things at night. I think gratitude is the most effective if you're actually sharing it with people. Because remember, positivity, just like negativity, is very contagious. So if we can stop and go, I'm just really appreciative of this, that also blooms in other people. And if we're surrounding ourselves with more positivity from others, we're also going to be more positive as well. And I want to think about, again, how we're incorporating in this into your routine of habit stacking. Mindful eating is also a really good time. So like as we're sitting here and eating, we could be thinking about the food we're eating and thinking about the sources and the efforts of how you prepared that meal. That is one way to appreciate and have gratitude. Again, natural spaces and nature is a really good place to start with gratitude. So like hiking or going through a walk. Again, this is all part of mindfulness. And I think practicing gratitude can actually transform how you perceive and interact with the world, and shifting your focus from negative to positive and opening your life to a deeper sense of joy and satisfaction. The last and definitely not the least thing you can do is get professional help. While personal strategies and support networks are very crucial for managing your stress, professional help can actually be indispensable, especially when stress becomes overwhelming. And we want to think about how seeking therapy or counseling is a productive or proactive step to understanding and managing your stress, and it's not a form of weakness. I have a whole episode on finding the right therapist that you can go back to and listen to if you're thinking about therapy. I'll put a link in the show notes for that as well. But I also have a whole guide and blog post and self-reflection questions on what to ask yourself if you're thinking about professional help that you can go back to. And I'll also have a link for that as well. I think that embracing when you need professional help and taking that step to engage with a therapist is a sign of strength. And it also shows self-care, and it shows a commitment, and you want to improve your life and your well-being. And therapy is not just for moments of crisis. It can actually be a valuable tool for personal growth and stress management, and being proactive with that, I think, is super helpful. And I think seeking professional help can make a profound difference in how you manage that stress. So all of these tools and these insights that we've been talking about today, therapy can also help you with that and help build it in a practical way that makes sense for your life. So I know we went through a lot today. It was very big, but I wanted to give you a bunch of tools that you could help yourself. And I really want to thank you for tuning into today's episode on stress management. And I want you to remember, managing stress is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's about finding what works best for you and integrating a lot of these practices that we're talking about into your daily life. So I want you to try out some of these strategies we discussed today, like the deep breathing exercises or the digital detox, and see what shifts for you. Don't forget to reach out for professional help if you feel overwhelmed. You can visit our website for more resources and links to those professional services. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and continue bringing valuable content to you. Until next time, take care and remember to take a moment to breathe and appreciate the simple joys of life. Stay stress-free and empowered. Please note that this podcast includes affiliate links, which means I may receive a commission if you make a purchase through these links at no extra cost to you. I only recommend products I truly believe in and use myself and will actually think benefit you. Your support helps keep this podcast running. Thanks.